Good morning. It is July 18th and it's about 11:15 a.m. in the Rose Garden. It's been an interesting week and there's been quite a lot of rain this week, which has been interesting to see how some of the roses have fared. But the most interesting thing this week was that my friend Olivia was looking on Facebook Marketplace and she came across a woman who was selling some roses from her garden, and they were a few years old, these roses, and she was getting rid of them because she was having some trouble with, I think, the roots in her backyard. And so Olivia and I decided, yes, we need to get these roses. And so on Thursday night, it was absolutely pouring rain and it was after work, and we drove up to this woman's house, and her name is Anita. Hi, Anita. And it was incredible. She has 100 roses and she has some also incredible other plants. Like she has some types of hydrangeas that I've never even seen before that were absolutely just so remarkable. But she had a ton of roses, many David Austins, and it was just like Olivia and I were just saying it was like walking into through the looking glass, because it was, she's equally as rose crazy as we are. And we really enjoyed talking to her. And anyways, I ended up getting 3 of her roses. They're mature David Austin roses. I got Lady of Shallot. I got Olivia Rose Austin. Oh, and the other one is not officially a David Austin, but it is sold by David Austin. It's called Eden. I already have Eden White, and this is another Eden White, but I thought it would look good in my garden. So, and her lovely husband, David, dug these out in the pouring rain for us, and we were just wet and happy with roses. And I was out in the garden until about 9 o'clock Thursday evening in the pouring rain, just getting Eden planted, because I didn't want her to have her roots exposed for very long. And the other two, Olivia and Lady of Shallot, are in pots, so there's no big rush to move them. So anyways, this weekend we have to figure out where are we putting these mature roses. And the other thing I have to decide is Zepherine Drouhin just going to be the typhoid berry of my garden and is going to just be inoculating all of my other roses with powdery mildew? So I'm really thinking about putting Zepherine Drouhin in some degree of isolation away from all the other roses, so she doesn't have a negative impact on them. I did look up about powdery mildew on azaleas, and it says that powdery mildew from other plants cannot be transferred to roses because they're very specific fungal diseases that are plant specific. So anyways, I'm going to take you around and show you the roses, and then we're going to get on with our kind of reorganizing, which I feel like these poor roses have been through so much. But I'm still trying to figure out where everybody belongs. Starting with Princess Alexandra of Kent, she has not gotten much more new growth from last week. I mean, I can see this was new growth last week, and but I've been checking her moisture levels and she's okay. Gertrude Jekyll is got some new growth and is looking all right. Golden Celebration has, it appears to be fully recovered and has a new bloom for us. And of course it got a bit tattered in the rain, but she's really come back. And Marilyn Monroe is looking really good. She has a very large flush of roses that have just opened up in the last few days. Really beautiful. And then we have the Pope. So Pope John Paul, I'm going to deadhead these ones today, but they're so fragrant. And the Pope has really done well from his move to this location. And it looks like the Pope is setting up to have a whole flush of tall, long-stemmed white roses up here. Here's Claire Austin, and doing okay, got some new growth there. William P.J. McCarthy got fully deadheaded this past week, so doesn't have any active blooms right now. And Strike It Rich has got some incredibly good looking blooms here. These were all buds last week, but Striker Rich is really, really in full bloom here. Now, if we go through, Secrets Out has new growth on here. Zephyrin is white because I've sprayed her with sulfur this week. But, you know, pretty much every new bit of growth on her seems to be getting powdery mildew. So here's Love's Promise, and Love's Promise just has a single bloom this week. Beautiful. Westerland needs to be deadheaded, but has lots of new growth. Queen Mary 2 is looking amazing with so many blossoms. And some of these have been, you know, knocked to the ground because of the rain, and I will do some deadheading. Looks like this entire piece needs to be deadheaded, but I will do that. Sterling Silver has some new growth and actually some new buds, but is really, again, I do feel like Zephyrin has been the Typhoid Mary of this location. So Zephyrin keeps growing taller, but every new leaf seems to have powdery mildew. And this is all sulfur that I've sprayed on here. So again, it's just such a chance I'm taking. Like, I really wanted Zephyrin to be awesome here, but I fear that. Secret is looking super pretty with her multicolored bloom. Fragrant Cloud has got some new growth and some new buds forming, but had a big cutback after her big flush. And we have a new bloom on Sweet Mademoiselle. Looking super pretty there. And she's setting up some really nice buds too. And Ebb Tide had some big deadheading this week, but is looking really, really healthy. And such a beautiful bright purple. And here's Eustacia with her new growth coming out. But look at Eustacia's getting powdery mildew too. And I do think it's all coming over from Zephyrin. See, this has all got powdery mildew on it. So and there's the Eustacia that I planted last week. I just cut it right back, so it's gonna have to take a little while to recover. And Rosanna is so shiny and so healthy and is probably pretty unlikely to contract powdery mildew at this point because her leaves are so nice and shiny. She needs some deadheading this weekend. And Crown Princess Margareta, she's gonna be, look at all these buds. And so you see how these are coming off of a lateral and they're all coming up? That's, from what I understand, because the sap has slowed down and has allowed her to put all these laterals up. So she's gonna have a really big flush in a couple of weeks. Beverly Ann is new to the garden and she's got some new growth already, which is awesome. And here is Laguna. Laguna looks like she needs a bit of deadheading, but really is looking healthy. Not sure what that is. And now here is what I planted on Thursday night. So this is Eden Climber White from Anita. And it is in the ground, and I put some alfalfa in the hole and really got her sorted out. She's just a little tiny bit wilty right now, not because of the moisture, but just because of the move. Now, this is the original Eden Climber White that I had here, and I'm going to be moving her to a new place, but I thought this was the best place for this Eden. And yeah, looking forward to training her up on this back fence. And Royal City, looking incredible. Her blooms are gorgeous, and she's really tall now. She's at least 3 feet tall. I think her expected height is 5 foot. Golden Opportunity is looking really, really good too. I'm going to continue to work and move Golden Celebration up towards her pergola. She needs a bit of deadheading. But the big news this week is we finally have Gemini has come to say hello. So this is awesome. Gemini has a really similar look too secret, but just a little bit paler pink on the edges. But she's going to be having a lot of blooms in the next couple of weeks. We can see that. And Dylan, wow, Dylan has a ton of buds, looking great. And then we have Iceberg, which has got some nice new shoots. Iceberg's blossoms really hold up. Like even in the pouring rain that we had, this is looking so, so good. So this is the size of the new Olivia Rose, which is a beautiful, beautiful rose. Beautiful David Austin. And this is the Lady of Shallot from Anita. And this Lady of Shallot is very much kind of growing like a small climber. And so I was thinking that if I'm wanting to get rid of the Zephyrines and move them into isolation, then maybe the best thing that I should do is put Lady of Shallot here and then move, and Claire Austin can also be grown as a short climber. And so poor Claire Austin, she's just getting jostled around so much. But do I move Claire Austin to where this Zephyrin is and then move Olivia to here? You know, I think that might be a good thing. And then what I could do is actually put Zephyrin Drouhin in a pot. And Zephyrin Drouhin is known to be able to grow a little bit in some shade. And so what I was thinking is that maybe I put Zephyrin Drouhin, maybe I put her in a pot somewhere in this corner that gets pretty decent sun, you know, in around here, you know, in a pot, something like that. So anyways, I'm gonna just try to figure it out, think it out. Hi, so it's about 1:30 and I'll show you what I've done so far. So I've moved the original Eden Climber White and I've made space for our new Eden Climber White, and I've put her on our wires, and I think she's gonna be happy there. And then where I've put our old Eden Climber is I've put her down here, and I did add some extra wires on with a few more pieces of hardware that I did a couple of weeks ago. And so this is Eden Climber 1. And so she's gonna climb up this way, and then I'm gonna have Eden Climber 2 climbing up this way. So that's my plan with that. And I have decided that I'm going to move Zephyrin Drouhin into a pot over in my shade patio, which is not totally shaded. So what I've done is I've actually cut apart my honeysuckle because I actually didn't like it and it was really kind of mildewy and gross. So I cut it all out of the pot. It was very, very root bound. And what I've done is I got this pot from HomeSense, and it's about 20 inches wide by 22 inches tall. And I'm using the structure that the honeysuckle was growing on. And so my plan is to fill this with potting soil, and then I'm going to put both the Zephyrin Drouhins in here, and I'm going to train her up in a spiral here, because then she's in isolation from the other roses and she's not likely to spread the powdery mildew. Well, not as likely to spread the powdery mildew because the wind doesn't kind of get in here. So hopefully this will make a happy place for Zephyrin. And then I'm still not sure what I'm doing with the other 2 new roses that we've got here, but I will go have a bit of lunch and I'll get back and tell you. It's 10 a.m. on July 19th, and I ran out of time yesterday because we were going to a movie, so I wasn't able to work in the garden into the evening. So I left myself a big mess to clean up today, and I'll just show you what I've done. And yeah, I know some of these decisions were probably not the best to make in the heat of summer, but let me show you around. So Olivia Rose Austin got moved here. This evergreen bush got moved a little bit over because I needed a little bit more room for Claire. And this is my makeshift water feature with a little solar fountain, which is making kind of crazy noises. And then Claire Austin there, and I'll train her up as a climber once she recovers from the stress of this move. I also ended up having to move Secrets out a little bit over. Oh, I feel bad about this. These roses are probably just wanting a rest. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plants, 5 plants, because I also moved this Nepeta a little bit forward. So these guys all got moved around. What I'm thinking about is I might actually put some type of a shade cloth out just to prevent these guys from getting scorched, because I think it's going to be pretty hot here this week. And I was successfully able to move Lady of Shallot into this spot. I cut her back by about 1/3 just to reduce the stress of her move, and I might do a little bit more of a cutback, but she is, I think, going to be quite happy there. This is Zephyrin Drouhin's new home, and both of them are in here. And I don't know if she'll live here, but I've started wrapping her around this obelisk type thing, so I think she's pretty hardy rose. So it's now 5:15 on Sunday, July 19th in the rose garden, and I really hope everybody survives my moves this weekend, because I think it's gonna be really hot this week. But I just could not help myself, and everybody got a little bit moved around, and I'll show you where things landed. Not much has changed in this area. Iceberg is just watered, and Dylan, of course, is looking great. I did plant the bonus rose that Anita gave to me, which is Yves L'Esprit de Fille right in there, and that's own root, so we'll see how she does. And not much else going on here. Just we've got further opening of Gemini's beautiful first bloom. Absolutely so stunning. Such a pretty, pretty rose. And Royal City had some deadheading, but otherwise is looking great. Golden Opportunity needed some deadheading, but is really growing very, very well. Harlow Carr has clearly recovered from their move over to here, but putting on new growth, no blooms for us yet. Laguna had some deadheading, but is still putting on some nice height. And here's the new Eden Climber White, and did a slow drip water today. And luckily she's not in the real line of hot sun, and she just gets morning sun, but I've been misting her and giving her plenty of water to reduce her loss, but I did cut her back about 1/3 so her roots are not too stressed. Beverly Ann Clay is settling into her new place, and she's putting on some new growth for us as well. Crown Princess Margareta, we've got a beautiful, beautiful new bloom here on Crown Princess Margareta. We're gonna have more of those soon. Rosanna, looking amazing. Needed to do some deadheading, but even with the deadheading, just we're looking at so many beautiful blooms here. And the Eustachias are doing well. This Eustacia is getting really, really high. It even seems taller than predicted, but I'm really glad that I've moved Zephyrin away, because even this Eustacia is getting some powdery mildew, which I think was from Zephyrin. And back we've got Ebb Tide, needed some deadheading, but is looking really healthy. And back here is the original Eden Climber, which got moved over to here and doesn't seem to be suffering at all. So that's looking great. And here we have Sweet Mademoiselle. Sweet Mademoiselle still has a bit of sulfur on her leaves, and Yeah, some of her new growth up here has a little bit of powdery mildew, but that's just from her proximity to Zephyrin. Fragrant Cloud has got new growth and is setting a few buds here and there, but we saw her blooms about a month ago. Secret has got some new growth, but no blooms. Oh, is setting up a bud right here. And then here is Lady of Shallot, who I did a slow water in and I've been misting, and did cut her back about maybe a quarter in hopes that she won't get too stressed with this move from Anita's yard. And Sterling Silver is suffering from powdery mildew because of the proximity to Zephyrin and her own inherent vulnerabilities, but is putting up some buds, and we'll probably see some nice violet blooms in the coming weeks. Queen Mary 2 needed some deadheading, but still has a lot of really cool looking blooms. Westerland needed a bit of deadheading, but overall, Westerland in all the books says that it's supposed to be like such a great climber, it gets so big, and it's like, this is Westerland's 3rd year, and again, granted, I have moved Westerland many times, so I should not be so hard on Westerland. Love's Promise, looking gorge as usual, just these bright red roses. I want more red roses. I really love them. And now you can see my crazy setup here. This is an old bed sheet. The sun is going to be so hot this week that I just decided this whole area that got replanted is just going to need a little bit of shade. I actually ordered a shade filtering cloth, which is going to be here tomorrow, but for the time being, this bed sheet's going to have to work, because in here everybody got kind of wiggled around. We've got Secrets Out, we've got Claire Austin, we've got the Evergreen, and of course we've got Olivia Rose Austin. So I just thought better to give everybody a little bit of shade for the coming days. And Strike It Rich is allowed the full sun, because we know Strike It Rich is so great and loves sun. Look at Strike It Rich. So beautiful. I feel like these later season blooms are staying more golden, which is pretty cool. But anyways, this is the shady zone. And Olivia Rose, I did cut back by about a quarter as well, but she's still got a lot of healthy growth on her, and she is not so far wilting too much, so that's good news. William PJ had some cutback because of blooms, and Pope is looking good from his move a few weeks ago. And here we have Marilyn. Marilyn looks amazing. Look at all those blooms on Marilyn. So pretty. And Golden Celebration. Looks great. And Gertrude Jekyll and Princess Alexandra of Kent. I'm going to take you over to where Zephyrin is. So she's got a pillowcase, I think, or whatever piece of sheet that I cut. And so Zephyrin is here. And then I have this mister that I have from my laundry room. I'm just kind of misting these roses that are a little bit heat stressed to try to keep them feeling okay. They've got plenty of water, so. It's been another busy weekend in the rose garden, and I'm taking full responsibility for all the decisions that I made, whether they are good and fruitful. Only time will tell. So that's what the life of a beginning rose gardener is like. You realize that maybe you should have planned ahead when planting roses, but that's the fun part of gardening. So you can tune in next week and see how the roses did through the hot week, and we'll see you then.